Brawl Stars is a game where you brawl with brawlers. It's in the name after all. This is always and always will be the case. As time passes, new content will naturally get added to keep things fresh for the player. And one of the main forms of adding content Supercell has used since the beginning is creating new brawlers. However, now that some time has passed since the release of the game, the roster for brawlers has gotten quite big. Currently, there are 89 brawlers, which is a massive difference compared to the original 15 that were when it was first launched. Does this perhaps tell you something? In case you still haven't realized, the problem here is that there are too many brawlers. To me, it seems like Brawl Stars release an average of around 6 new brawlers per year. This is only the average, by the way. In 2020 alone, there were 11 new brawlers added. At this rate, the amount of brawlers are going to exceed the Smash Bros. Ultimate roster in no time at all. But you may still be wondering, why is this a problem? More brawlers means more fun, right? That is actually right. New brawlers itself is not a bad thing for Brawl Stars. It is simply the sheer amount of brawlers that there are. Too much of something can never be a good thing. In the past, Brawl Stars have had this problem when they introduced too many chromatic brawlers, which defeated the purpose of chromatic brawlers being the rarest brawlers in the game when the chromatic rarity had around half of the existing brawlers at the time. Aside from this, there are a multitude of problems that come with having too many brawlers. Some of these include difficulties such as progression, complexity, balancing, and other problems that are much too complicated to talk about and understand, even for me. For now, I'll explain each problem one by one, and at the end, you too will be able to confidently say why there shouldn't be too many brawlers in Brawl Stars. First, to understand brawlers, we have to understand Brawl Stars as a whole. Since brawlers are essentially the core of the game, Brawl Stars naturally stands out from the rest of Supercell games. There are a couple reasons for this, such as the fact that it's in a different universe than Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and the now dead Clash Mini. However, you could say the main difference is the massive gameplay difference. Clash of Clans as well as Boom Beach and Heyday, which I didn't mention before, are base builders that require time and patience. It doesn't help that there are other new base builders these days, such as Rise of Kingdoms, which flooded the internet with ads when it was released. And Clash Royale is technically a tower defense game, with its unique aspect being that your goal was to not only defend, but annihilate your opponent's hopes and dreams with over-leveled towers. The main theme here is that these games require you to be patient and use your brains and wits to overcome your opponents. But Brawl Stars was different. Rather than being mostly a strategy game, it is really comparable to a hero shooter, since you control a certain character that each has their own stats, attacks, abilities, and roles. However, being a mobile game that you played with bird's eye view, it escaped competing with actual hero shooters that use first or third person eye view that are usually played on PC or consoles such as the recently extremely popular Marvel Rivals. The point is that since Brawl Stars works really similar to a hero shooter, it also shares some of its flaws. This includes balancing and power creep. Balancing is quite self-explanatory. Since you have multiple different characters, you must make sure no one character is too overpowered or too useless to be the bane of the game. Power creep is a little more complicated. If you want more details, you can check my previous video. But essentially, as new content gets added, the old content becomes stale, boring, and sometimes even unviable compared to the newest edition. These are usually able to be managed through frequent updates and special care, but not to make the problem worse by adding new brawlers and updates, which is clearly not happening considering we get around a new season every other major update or collab. At this rate, some brawlers will never see the light of day again, forever living behind the shadow of their new counterpart. I do feel like I have to mention, however, that it seems Supercell has taken some notice of this fact by giving buff to some old brawlers such as Hank and Daryl to name a few. But once again, without careful planning and preparation, such acts intended to fix the balance might just end up tipping the scale over. Moving on to our next problem is progression. Once again, I think this is both a simple and obvious problem with a difficult solution. It doesn't take a genius to realize that the more content and brawlers there are, the more effort and hours of gameplay you'll have to waste on every new brawler that pops out of Supercell's headquarters. By now, I'm sure most of you have suffered from coin shortage in Brawl Stars. It's a phenomenon that occurs when you have far too many power points in proportion to coins, and you're unable to upgrade a brawler to level 11, costing you around 2,800. As more brawlers get added, the more time you need to spend to collect coins and tokens to upgrade your brawlers. Which is difficult because unless you're blessed with the almighty Brawl Pass, the amount of coins that comes your way is limited. And you better pray to your lucky stars no new overpowered hypercharge comes out for whatever new brawler Supercell thinks deserves to go on a power trip. A whooping 5,000 coins just for a hypercharge you activate around 2 or 3 times in a game if you're lucky. In addition, as more and more brawlers get added, the gap between new players and mid-game players further widens to players that already have all the brawlers and can start unlocking the new player once it's made available. And this is the sad part. A new brawler these days is normally made available 2 weeks after it is actually released. This is because for those 2 weeks, the brawler is blocked behind a paywall, which unless you cough up $20 and sell your soul to Supercell, there is no way to get it during that time. At this point, it wouldn't be strange if Brawl Stars is put in a similar spot as Clash Royale in a few years. The way balancing is taken care of in Brawl Stars, while granted, it shows a lot of effort, may not be enough to keep up with the constant barrage of new brawlers. Remember that Supercell, unlike other game companies, is a relatively small team. At some point, there may actually be more brawlers in Brawl Stars than cards in Clash Royale. There are 121 cards in Clash Royale for a game where you have 8 cards in a deck, yet there are a lot more than half of that in the amount of brawlers in Brawl Stars, which is 84 in case you forgot. And this is only because Clash Royale used to release a ton of cards when it was still new, with it releasing batches of 4 cards at a time, which turned out to be a mistake due to the poor game design of some cards. For example, there are these 3 separate cards, Barbarians, Barbarian Hut, and Battle Ram, which share the same stat, hence making them difficult to balance since changing the stats of one changes all of them. Now, Clash Royale has greatly slowed the release of new cards to ensure each card is balanced and fair, and interacts well with already existing cards. I'm sure you could easily find one of the many Clash Royale documentaries on the history of cards these days, such as Grats, with many of the ones I've been seeing the downfall of due to old cards unable to compare in the new meta. Well, arguably, the Brawl Stars meta has been in worse positions, with matchmaking being catastrophic whenever a new brawler comes out, reminding everyone of when Edgar was released, which is when this occurrence of repeated brawlers first started happening. Much like Clash Royale, the meta of Brawl Stars often revolves around new brawlers and hypercharges, and Showdown is just constantly catastrophic, with campers and kits in every game. Speaking of which, Kit is a prime example of a badly designed character. Just take a look at his star power, Power Hungry, which is literally only viable in duo and solo showdown. I'm not going to get too into it now, but that is what happens with too many brawlers too fast. I believe that to a new Brawl Stars player, catching up without spending a single penny is almost as hard as trying to catch up to the latest Town Hall in Clash of Clans. Did you know, recently, Town Hall 17 merged the Eagle Artillery together with itself. Not that I can ever hope to get there with my measly Town Hall 12. Finally, the final problem that I feel should be mentioned is simply the gameplay aspect, both of playing your new character and attaining it. To you, dear viewer, I would like to ask you, how did you get your first legendary? Many veteran players may remember unlocking a Spike or Crow from the box era of Brawl Stars, and cherish that memory forever. However, with the current system of tokens, it feels kind of lackluster and has its own flaws as well. Before Star Drops and the Brawl Pass, one could only get brawlers through luck. This, and the fact that there were not so many brawlers, made each brawler more special. There would be only one brawler that could take on a specific job. Later, when the Brawl Pass was first introduced and added chromatic brawlers, those were meant to be the new super special brawlers. However, the system eventually fell. One reason was because people didn't really feel it was fair that each new chromatic brawler was locked behind a paywall. Unless you were lucky and got it from a box, But when they removed that, then truly the only way to unlock chromatics was through a paywall, or wait at least 2 seasons for it to be unlocked on the newly added Star Road. However, the rarest and coolest brawlers were removed mainly because there were too many chromatic brawlers. How ironic. In total, there were 21 chromatic brawlers, the most number of brawlers in one tier by a long shot. In the end, they redistributed it across legendary, mythic, and epic rarities. By the way, at this point, you could also forget of ever experiencing that feeling of unlocking a new brawler from a box. Unless you count star drops, which never felt the same, or the event boxes which came back for a bit, but even that felt like a mere imitation of its glory days. That all happened in the past, but now in the present, all the new brawlers that have been added since then are all going to the epic, mythic, and rare tiers. Once again, the overcrowding of brawlers is beginning, the difference being that it's spread across 3 tiers. The rare and super rare tiers look utterly barren compared to the others, which, logically speaking, is meant to be the opposite. The higher the rarity, the more rare it's meant to be. El Primo is often in a lot of memes because of this, since he is but a mere rare ranked brawler, yet is still and has always been competitively viable. After all, what could be more honorable than one man fighting through it all? Now, to be fair, it looks like Supercell has directly taken notice of this problem of too many brawlers, and it seems their solution is to add temporary brawlers rather than permanent ones, and we got that in the form of Space Ranger Buzz Lightyear. He would not only be temporary, but be fully maxed out as to not waste any resources. How wonderful! Surely this will bring around a definite end to all its problems. Buzz Lightyear ended up being the most used brawler for the duration of the season since he was free and everyone had access to him. Aside from that, he was extremely overpowered, having different modes that completely change his stats and attacks for the whole game. This made him viable in every single map, and people were further incentivized to play him since trophies with him would directly go to the trophy box, bypassing the need to get 1000 trophies first. In short, while Supercell certainly tried to fix this problem by adding a temporary brawler, this was only a temporary solution solely to that problem, and ended up creating more in its wake. Despite all this, I still take that as a good sign that Brawl Stars is taking action and not letting the problem freely get bigger. Whether this eventually gets solved or not, we can only wait as to whatever Brawl Stars brings us next. With that being said, I will announce the end of this video. You can like or subscribe. It's free, and you can always take it back.